I never thought I'd be sitting here telling this story, but honestly, I'm tired of everyone making me out to be the bad guy. I'm Carmen, 28, and let me tell you exactly how my perfect marriage exploded in my face, and why it's not entirely my fault. It all started 5 years ago when my ex Ryan completely blindsided me by running off with my best friend Olivia. Like, who does that? We'd been together since sophomore year of college, and I just knew he was about to propose. We had it all planned out, the house in the suburbs, the designer kitchen I'd always wanted, the whole picture-perfect life. Then one day, poof, gone. All because Olivia decided our friendship wasn't as important as her feelings. I was a mess, complete disaster. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, kept checking their social media every 5 minutes. Then I met Nathan at work. He'd just transferred to our office's sales department, and honestly, I barely noticed him at first. He was just there. Nice enough, kind of cute in that boy next door way, but nothing like Ryan's confident swagger. But then I started noticing how everyone at work loved Nathan. How he'd bring coffee for the team during morning meetings, how he'd remember random details about people's lives, and most importantly, how he looked at me like I was something special. That's when this tiny idea started forming in my head. See, I knew Ryan. 5 years together meant I knew exactly how his mind worked. He hated the idea of his things belonging to someone else. Even called me months after we broke up when he heard I'd sold the watch he'd given me. So when Nathan asked me out for coffee, I said yes. Not because I was interested, but because I knew exactly how to play this. The plan was simple. Date Nathan, post about our perfect relationship all over social media, and wait for Ryan to come running back. Nathan made it almost too easy. He was so genuine, so invested. Every date, every sweet gesture, every just because flower delivery. I made sure it all ended up on Instagram with the perfect filter and caption. I'll admit, I rushed things a bit. When Nathan proposed after only 8 months, I said yes immediately. Not because I was in love, honestly, I still checked Ryan's profile first thing every morning. But because I was sure this would be what finally made Ryan realize what he'd lost. I mean, what kind of guy lets the love of his life marry someone else? The wedding planning was a blur of designer appointments and venue tours. Nathan wanted something small and meaningful. I pushed for the big fairy tale production. Every decision was calculated. The venue Ryan and I had once talked about, the song that had been our song. Even the honeymoon destination. I made sure everything would get back to him through our mutual friends. Looking back now, I probably should have noticed how Nathan looked at me during our first dance. How his hands shook when he read his vows. How his mom cried during the ceremony, and not necessarily from joy. But I was too busy checking my phone, waiting for that message from Ryan that never came. You want to know the really messed up part? Ryan and Olivia didn't even notice. They were too busy posting about their own engagement to care about my perfect wedding photos or the honeymoon pics from Bali. But by then, I was already Mrs. Nathan Cooper, living in our starter home, playing the role of devoted wife, while secretly hoping my ex would finally wake up and realize his mistake. I know how this sounds, but you have to understand. I never meant for it to go this far. I never thought Nathan would actually fall so completely in love with me. And I definitely never thought I'd end up telling him the truth years later when everything had finally fallen into place. The first year of marriage was weird. Like I kept waiting for Ryan to show up at our door, to call, to do something. But life just kept moving forward. Nathan got promoted at work, started bringing in serious money, and suddenly my Instagram perfect life wasn't just for show anymore. We moved from our starter home to a gorgeous house in the suburbs. The kind I used to dream about with Ryan, only better. Nathan was crushing it in tech sales, and I started getting used to the lifestyle. Weekly date nights at nice restaurants, surprise weekend getaways, designer everything. It was like playing house, but with a black card. My friends kept saying how lucky I was, how Nathan was husband goals, and honestly, I started believing it a little bit. I mean, Ryan and Olivia were still stuck in their tiny apartment while I was living the life I'd always wanted. I remember this one morning, about 2 years in, when Nathan brought me coffee in bed. Something he'd done basically every weekend since we got married. But this time was different. Maybe because I'd finally stopped checking Ryan's social media first thing every morning. Maybe because Nathan had just closed this massive deal at work. Or maybe because for the first time, I actually felt content. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't like madly in love or anything, but Nathan made everything so easy. He never questioned my shopping sprees, always remembered important dates, and actually listened when I talked about my day. It was comfortable, safe, the kind of marriage my mom always said I should want. The more successful Nathan got, the more I actually started enjoying being Mrs. Cooper. Our Christmas cards looked amazing, our vacation photos made everyone jealous, and even my mother-in-law finally stopped giving me those looks like she knew something was off. Life was good, you know? My friends started joking about how I'd won the lottery with Nathan. Even Olivia, who'd barely spoken to me since the whole Ryan thing, commented on one of my anniversary posts about how perfect we looked together. And the thing is, we did look perfect. We were perfect. Nathan worshipped the ground I walked on, and I'd gotten really good at playing the role of devoted wife. I started actually looking forward to our date nights, enjoying our inside jokes, even missing him when he went on business trips. It wasn't the all-consuming passion I'd had with Ryan, but it was nice, stable. The kind of love that builds slowly, I guess. Plus, Nathan's success meant I could finally have everything I'd ever wanted. The house, the car, the lifestyle. That's why I still don't understand why everything had to fall apart. Why Nathan couldn't just accept that even though our marriage started as part of my plan to get Ryan back, it had turned into something real. Well, real enough. I mean, isn't that how most marriages work? You grow into love, right? 5 years into our marriage, life was beyond perfect. Nathan was killing it at work, like multiple 6 figures killing it. We just finished renovating our dream house, complete with that designer kitchen I'd always wanted. Our vacations looked like something out of a magazine, and I'd become that wife everyone else envied. The one hosting dinner parties with expensive wine and perfect centerpieces. The one other husbands used as an example. Why can't you be more like Carmen? I actually started enjoying spending time with Nathan. He'd gotten even more handsome with age, dressed better thanks to my influence, and the way he looked at me still made me feel like the most important person in his world. Which, let's be honest, I was. I was the one who pushed him to go for that promotion, who made sure he had the right image for a senior executive, who turned him into someone even Ryan would be jealous of. Not that I cared about Ryan anymore. Well, not much. I mean, sure, I still checked his and Olivia's social media sometimes, but only out of habit. They were still living their basic life, posting about their small achievements like getting pre-approved for a starter home, the kind of place Nathan and I wouldn't even consider for a rental property. It was actually kind of satisfying. Nathan and I had our routine down perfect. Morning coffee together before work, regular date nights at the best restaurants in town, weekend trips to our vacation house in the mountains. He'd surprise me with jewelry just because, plan elaborate anniversaries, and never complained when I redecorated rooms he'd just paid thousands to renovate. That's real love, right? I remember this one night, we were hosting a dinner party, and I overheard Nathan talking to his friend in his home office. He was saying how lucky he felt to have me, how he'd never thought he'd find someone who fit so perfectly into his life. It made me feel good, special, like maybe this wasn't just about the lifestyle anymore. Sure, we had our issues, what couple doesn't? Like how he'd get all quiet when I'd make certain comments, or how he'd sometimes look at me with this expression I couldn't quite read. But that's normal, right? Marriage isn't supposed to be perfect, and ours was as close to perfect as anyone could get. I actually started believing we were meant to be together. That maybe the whole Ryan thing was just the universe's way of leading me to Nathan. I mean, look how well everything had worked out. We had the kind of life people dream about, the kind of marriage everyone wanted. Nathan absolutely adored me, and I'd grown to love him too. In my own way. That's what makes what happened next so frustrating. I mean, if you're so in love with someone, shouldn't you be able to handle the truth? Especially when it doesn't even matter anymore. I was so sure our marriage was strong enough for total honesty. That's what all those relationship podcasts are always preaching, right? Complete transparency? How was I supposed to know that being honest would ruin everything? It was our 5th anniversary. Nathan had gone all out, as usual. Private chef at home, ridiculous amount of roses everywhere, the whole fairy tale setup. He'd even gotten me this gorgeous diamond bracelet that perfectly matched the necklace he'd given me for Christmas. We were on our 3rd bottle of wine, feeling good, just talking about everything and nothing. That's when he started getting all emotional, telling me how these past 5 years had been the best of his life. How he'd known from our first coffee date that I was special. How he thanked God every day that I'd chosen him. He had tears in his eyes, actual tears, talking about how much he loved me. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was how secure I felt in our marriage. Or maybe I was just tired of carrying this secret that didn't even matter anymore. But I started laughing, not meanly, just like it was this funny story from the past that we could both appreciate now. You know what's hilarious? I said, playing with my new bracelet. I only started dating you to make Ryan jealous. Can you believe that? I was so sure he'd come running back when he heard I was getting married. God, I was obsessed with him back then. The silence that followed, I don't think I'll ever forget it. It was like all the air got sucked out of the room. Nathan just froze. The look on his face, it was like I'd physically hurt him. Which was ridiculous, right? I mean, this was ancient history. But it doesn't matter now, I quickly added, reaching for his hand. Look how perfect everything turned out. We have this amazing life together. I grew to love you. Isn't that better than some stupid college romance? He pulled his hand away. Just slowly pulled it away and stood up. His face had gone completely blank, but his hands were shaking. You married me to make your ex jealous? Well, yeah, but all of it. He cut me off, and his voice was so quiet it scared me. The rushed engagement, the specific wedding choices, the honeymoon location. That was all calculated? To hurt him? Nathan, you're not listening, I tried to explain. That was 5 years ago. We're happy now. We love each other. Why are you focusing on ancient history? He just stood there, staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Then he started nodding slowly, like pieces were falling into place. The sudden interest in my career. The image makeover. The social media posts. It was never about supporting me, was it? It was about showing him what he missed out on. That's not fair, I protested. Okay, maybe at first, but things changed. I love you now. I love our life together. Why are you trying to ruin our anniversary over something that doesn't even matter anymore? Does it matter? His laugh was horrible. Nothing like his usual warm chuckle. Our entire marriage is based on a lie, and it doesn't matter? It's not a lie. I'm here, aren't I? I stayed. I chose you. No, he said, his voice breaking. You settled for me, after he didn't want you back. That's when he walked out of the dining room. I heard our bedroom door close, not slam. Nathan never slams doors. Just this quiet, final click. I sat there for hours, waiting for him to come back down to let me explain properly. But he didn't. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Nathan didn't leave immediately. He just got quiet. Started sleeping in the guest room. Spent hours in his home office, reviewing things. He'd barely look at me, but when he did, his eyes were full of questions. Like he was reevaluating every moment of our marriage. I tried everything to fix it. Everything. I wore his favorite outfits, cooked his favorite meals, tried to act like the perfect wife, even more than before. When that didn't work, I got creative. I started showing up at his office with lunch, making sure all his coworkers saw what a devoted wife I was. I posted throwback photos of us online, wrote long captions about our love story. I even reached out to his mom, which was desperate, I know, but I was running out of options. But nothing worked. Nothing. He'd just look at me with this mixture of love and pain that made me want to scream. Because he still loved me, I could see it. He just couldn't get past this one stupid truth that shouldn't even matter anymore. That's when I started getting really scared. Started Googling things at 3 a.m. How to save your marriage. How to make him stay. How to make him trust you again. The answers weren't enough. I needed something more permanent. Something that would bind us together so tightly he'd have to forgive me. I started dropping hints about wanting a family. Left my fertility app open on my phone where he could see it. casually mentioned how good he'd be as a father during dinner. I even, accidentally, left a positive pregnancy test on the bathroom counter, just to see how he'd react. He didn't say anything, just stared at it for a long time before throwing it away. One night, after too many glasses of wine, I found myself in our bathroom, holding one of his things, thinking about how easy it would be to ensure he couldn't leave. Just one little modification and nature would take its course. We'd be a family, he'd have to stay. But when I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. What was I becoming? This wasn't me. I mean, yeah, I'd manipulated situations before, but this was different. This was crazy, right? Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it, about how a baby would fix everything. How he'd have to work through this with me, if we were going to be parents. How we could be that perfect family I'd always wanted. I should have known something was wrong when he started going to the gym every night, staying late at work, taking business calls in his car. Should have realized he was pulling away despite my best efforts. But I was too focused on my plans, on finding the perfect way to make him stay. Then one day, I came home and found him in his office, surrounded by papers, bank statements, phone records, old social media posts. He'd mapped out our entire relationship on his whiteboard, with dates and events in his neat handwriting. That's when I saw it. He'd written "signs I missed" at the top, with a list that went all the way to the floor. "I found your searches," he said quietly, not looking up. "About the pregnancy plans." He was gone the next day. Just gone. Left his keys on the kitchen counter next to divorce papers, and a letter that I couldn't bring myself to read for days. When I finally did, I almost wished I hadn't. It wasn't angry or bitter, that would have been easier. Instead, it was heartbreakingly honest. He wrote about how much he truly loved me. How he'd spent weeks trying to convince himself that our marriage could survive this, that love could be enough. But then, he found my browser history, saw my plans to trap him with a baby, and realized that even now, I was still trying to manipulate him, still treating him like a backup plan, a convenient lifestyle, not a person with feelings and dignity. The worst part? He thanked me. Actually thanked me for finally being honest about our marriage's foundation. Said it helped him understand all the little moments that had never quite made sense. My sudden interest in his career once he started making real money, how I'd get weird whenever Ryan and Olivia were mentioned, the way I'd showcase our relationship on social media like it was a competition. I tried calling, texting, emailing, nothing. His friends blocked me. His family wouldn't speak to me. Even my own friends started pulling away when they heard the full story. Apparently, Nathan's letter wasn't the only one he wrote. He'd sent emails to our closest friends, laying out everything with timestamps and screenshots. All those posts I'd made trying to make Ryan jealous, all those calculated moves early in our relationship, he'd documented everything. The divorce was quick. Nathan was generous with the settlement, more generous than I deserved, according to his lawyer. But he refused to see me, to talk to me, to give me one last chance to explain. His lawyer said he still cared about me, still wanted me to be okay, but he needed to care about himself more. That's the part that kills me. He didn't stop loving me, he just finally started loving himself enough to walk away. And somehow, that's worse than if he'd just hated me. You want to know the really messed up part? Ryan reached out when he heard about the divorce. Sent me this long message about how sorry he was, how he hoped I was okay. And you know what? I didn't even care. All I could think about was Nathan. How he'd bring me coffee every morning, how he'd laugh at my bad jokes, how he'd look at me like I was his whole world. Everyone's telling me I should feel guilty, that I'm the villain in this story, but they don't understand. I did love Nathan. Maybe not at first, maybe not the way he deserved, but I did. I just loved the life we had together more. Is that really so terrible? So yeah, that's how my perfect marriage ended. Not with some dramatic fight or scandalous affair, but with the quiet truth of a confession I thought wouldn't matter anymore. Nathan's already dating someone new. Some kindergarten teacher who looks at him like he hung the moon. And me? I'm still in our dream house, surrounded by all the expensive things I always wanted, finally understanding that maybe I never deserved any of it in the first place. But at least now I know, some truths should stay buried, And some lies are better than honesty that destroys everything.